and welcome. It's a bit of an understatement that Gravity Falls is one of my favorite series. Since the initial premiere almost 15 years ago, I've been obsessed. As you can tell, Mabel is one of my spirit characters, and not only did I cosplay her at Comic-Con, I'm Mabel from Gravity Falls, I'm also happy to be able to pull her out for today's video.
But she's also been my profile picture on my Disney Plus account as well. Now, Gravity Falls takes place during the summer, and it also premiered in the beginning of summer back in 2012, but due to the paranormal subject matter, I always think of it as a cozy fall watch, even though it is something to enjoy any time of year.
I'm honestly still surprised that it got picked up by Disney in the first place, as it's one of the darkest pieces of media Disney has aired in a while. I know a lot of people do compare it to a kid-friendly Twin Peaks, which I still need to watch, although they did also air So Weird back in the day, which could have similar vibes, so no matter what, I am grateful that they picked it up.
Now, the initial series has been completed and off the air for a decade at this point,
which is insane to think about.
But the fandom is still holding strong, and the story is far from over.
In fact, last year, the creator Alex Hirsch published this amazing book, The Book of Bill, that also had a hidden website that you can enter codes in for a lot of fun surprises.
You see, within the original series from the beginning, secret codes were always scattered around in the ending credits, on the website, in books, and more, giving fans an extra interactive mission to solve the clues as the story expanded. Gravity Falls always presented itself as a series focused on being a weird paranormal town, but no one knew the mystery that connected it all together underneath. Bill Cipher himself doesn't appear until the end of season 1, and he's one of the most important characters and pieces of the show.
And now he has a whole book about him, by him. I know this came out last year, and so many people already talked about this, and the website specifically at length. I even talked about it a little while I was at Comic-Con.
I just love that everyone, you know, the Gravity Falls people, you're trying to talk to them because we don't know what's going on. There's a sign saying it's at capacity, of course. No Alex Hirsch sign today. I did get the book, which is totally fine because the book is amazing. I love the Book of Bill. It would have been really, really, really cool to get it signed by Alex Hirsch, but it was a mess. And apparently, talking to a couple people, they said people waited from 10 a.m. this morning. The signing's at 1:30.
Even though it is a year old at this point, if you are a fan of the show, you will be obsessed with this book. And transitioning from that, as you can tell, there's so much to talk about with this show and so many different directions to go in. So we will be back to talk about more within the future, but today I wanted to start off with the video games that were created.
Now, similar to the Muppets and honestly every other franchise, there was a couple of standalone video games released, as well as an iPhone app that is now defunct, and I'm not sure if it's playable anywhere at this point. Besides those, that will be a future topic of discussion. There's always the old web games to talk about today. The great thing with this show being a little bit more recent compared to the others in the Disney history bubble, and the fandom being so structured and interactive, the information is a lot more accessible to find. I was able to get so much specific information from the Gravity Falls wiki, including when each of the games were published originally. Most of the Flash games are available on Flashpoint, like always, even though there was a few I couldn't get to work again, like the Great Standmobile Escape and Little Gideon Shrinks Back, for example. Outside of those, there's still tons to play and talk about. Starting out, one of the first games available is Mystery Tour Ride.
Before we get any further, for the majority of the games, you do have a choice of picking either Mabel or Dipper to play as. It's very obvious who I picked every single time. A lot of the games also do tie into the episodes, although you don't have to follow the episodes to be able to play them. It just helps to understand all the insider information and jokes.
Mystery Tour Ride is a driving side-scroller game where your goal is to reach the finish line while also collecting all the coins and special items. If your golf cart slows down to below 10 miles per hour, then it's game over. There's 9 levels overall in which the game increases the difficulty a little, although it's the same setup more or less. It's a good game for replayability if you're looking for an increased challenge too. Otherwise, this wasn't one of my favorites to play. The Twin Mystery Vortex of Doom that's next is probably one of the most creative and challenging games that came out. This time you play as both Dipper and Mabel as you navigate through the obstacles together to beat the game. There's 20 levels overall, although they're all quick, especially since it's more of a puzzle strategy game than a true platformer. The good news is you have several times to try again if one of the twins hits an obstacle while trying to maneuver both of them towards the exit. It's a good challenge, and like I previously mentioned, definitely one of the more unique and creative games to play. Continuing on with Fright Night, it's a 2D platformer where Grunkle Stan sends the twins out to search for more oddities for the Mystery Shack. There's 4 different areas to look: the forest, the lake, Crystal Caves, and back to the Mystery Shack. Your goal is to collect specific items while avoiding the scary monsters and navigating through the different obstacles. Just like the other ones, it's a solid game that could be a good challenge to play. The final game that was released in 2012 is Mystery Shack Mystery. From the beginning intro, you choose your character and then get a couple of prompts to read along before you begin the mystery search. Summer break in Gravity Falls is awesome! I'm wearing 8 kinds of perfume! It's a nice introduction, especially since it was an additional piece of media to promote the series when it was still brand newish, and it gave everyone a nice breakdown on what they could expect from the show. It's a short point-and-click adventure game similar to the old Sierra computer games from the 90s. I will admit that it took me way too long to figure out where to go, but once I was able to get going, I could move along, with the help of a few hints as well.
That's the reason I compared it to the Sierra games. If you're familiar with the company, there was always a stereotype that their point-and-click adventure games were very difficult to solve and required a lot of skill and outside-of-the-box thinking to complete.
Obviously, this little flash game isn't at the same level of difficulty, but it took me over 3 minutes alone to turn on the light, and over 5 minutes total to be able to leave the first room. Thankfully, the rest of the journey didn't take as long, and I was able to figure out a lot of the clues on my own.
I also understand that this game was aimed at 7 to 12-year-olds, so it is still a shame that it took me so long to figure everything out.
It's still a really fun game though, and a good way to be introduced into the world, as well as just a good game for your mind as well. At the end, it's also revealed that there are secret codes hidden throughout the game that can be used in the Postcard Creator. Postcard Creator, as you can assume by the title, is not a game but a related activity instead. There's a really great variety of backgrounds from the show, as well as characters to choose from, and some greetings that you can add. There was also a section for you to add your own picture, so Kermit and Miss Piggy are now a part of the Gravity Falls universe.
It's canon and you can't tell me otherwise.
Moving on to 2013, the first game to be released is Rumble's Revenge. There's something so wonderful about the MIDI version of the theme song that I love. I haven't even mentioned that I believe the Gravity Falls theme song is one of the greatest theme songs of all time. Whenever I watch the show, no matter how many times I rewatch it, I cannot skip it. There's 4 levels in the game: the forest, the caves, the deep forest, and the city. It's a fighting RPG where you have to defeat all the various enemies. The gameplay might be simple and repetitive, but it's just fun.
That's one thing I noticed too while playing all these games. There's so many more serious arcade options that can be nostalgic and reminiscent towards the video games of the past.
At the same time, even though Gravity Falls premiered on Disney Channel, they moved it over to their secondary, more boy-focused demographic channel, Disney XD. So I can see how a lot of the games were made for boys to play, even though literally everyone could enjoy both the show and games.
I mean, I was literally in college when this show premiered, and was such a fan from the beginning till now.
The next game, Attic Stuff Golf, could be more leaning towards the girl demographic to enjoy, but again, these games are meant for everyone. It's a mini golf game with 9 different courses to play through, but I love the creativity of the designs throughout. It makes sense they're easy to design and probably didn't take that much power to run through, since there's not much movement happening within the game. Just lining up the swing and animation of the ball traveling to get to the hole. This one was really cozy and a cute one to play through to pass the time.
So according to the Gravity Falls wiki that I found, Rumble's Revenge was released in January 2013, and our next game, which is the follow-up, was released in August 2013. But it's insanely better and amazing.
Pine's Quest, the final quest of Legend XII, is another nostalgic arcade-style RPG that takes place after the events of Rumble's Revenge, and the MIDI theme song has gotten even greater. like I said before, you can really see how serious these games are compared to the other types of Flash games I've talked about in the past. There are 6 different areas to explore: the Mystery Shack, the Forest, the Man Caves, the Gnome Woods, the Deep Forest, and the Programmer's Lair. The amount of detail within this game is fantastic, and although it personally reminds me of the old Pokemon games from the 90s, according to the wiki, there's a lot of inspiration from The Legend of Zelda. Now, I'm not familiar with Zelda or would ever consider myself a fan, but the little that I know about it, I could easily see it, especially with the title being the final quest of Legend 12. There's also small references to Super Mario Bros. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles within the game, which, being a gamer myself, makes me love and appreciate it even more. The really fun thing too that I want to mention is the game over screen. It doesn't exist. Instead, it stretches out the countdown and restarts itself with a "Try Again, Kids" written at the top of the screen.
And if you thought this game was the best, no, we're not even at the best one yet, although this one is definitely at the top.
Pig Waddles Ultra Bounced, released in 2014, is another Mabel-centric game, so it is another cozy, casual, girly one. It's a bit of a stereotypical parody of a Japanese game show. There's no real strategy to winning this game because it's more of a pinball Plingle style one. You launch Waddles to be able to collect all the food that's floating for ultra big success. Most of the levels are really easy to win on the first try, but towards the end I kept getting stuck and had to repeat them a couple of times. It's honestly luck-based at that point. There's 10 levels overall, and at the end you do get a little story conclusion, as well as winning Ultra Big Success score title. Mabel's Doodle Blaster was another one of the favorites that I played. Mabel accidentally pulls Dipper, Seuss, and Grunkle Stan into her coloring book with some weird mystery markers that Pacifica ends up hijacking to create her own villains you have to fight against. It's a shooter-style scroller with 5 different levels overall: Earth's Orbit, Space Rings, Asteroid Field, Outer Rim, and Space Pirate Cove.
I'm sure there's been tons of discussion about how Mabel is super 80s coded as a character. This game could be further confirmation bias for that.
The music alone is a nostalgic blast from the past soundtrack that you would hear in any local arcade back in the day, and just like the rest of the games, as the levels progress, the more challenging it gets. You're able to gain extra lives, power-ups, and help from the other characters temporarily as you battle all the different villains, and there's a couple of mini boss battles per level as well, until you reach the end with the final boss battle being Pacifica herself in universe. Because it's a straight-up shooting game, it's just a lot of fun. There's no strategy, there's not a lot to think about. You just focus on hitting all the targets, avoid being shot at, and beating the game. It's not a long game, but it still took me about 25 minutes overall to get through the whole thing. So it's a good game to play when you don't want to dedicate hours to something, but just want to zone out a little bit. Moving on to another short game is Magic Rune Mystery. It apparently was exclusive to Disney XD, but I'm not sure if it was on the website or strictly app-based, especially since it's shaped more for phone use, being vertical compared to website use. It's a Doodle Jump clone where you have 2 different routes to choose from with each of the twins. Mabel is jumping, exactly the same as the Doodle Jump gameplay would be, and Dipper is the reverse, where he's falling down for the gameplay. The main overall objective is to capture this magical chest, each by both Dipper and Mabel, while avoiding monsters and not falling off the platforms in Mabel's case, and not being crushed in Dipper's case before capturing the chest. Once you capture the chest a second time, it's an automatic completion to the game, although you're able to play a game with the goal of beating your record. Also on the Disney XD website is Seuss's Confusing Adventure. It's another puzzle platformer game based on the Fixin' It with Zeus shorts that were a part of the show at the time.
Also, side note, I just found out that Seuss is supposed to be 22. I thought he was 40 for the longest time. And like an uncle type of figure towards the twins.
Anyways, there's 6 levels or rooms to play through, and you have to create various clones to maneuver the various areas in the room in order for you to reach the end of the level. There's 4 different types. Bezazzled Seuss, where you unlock the disco ball, and he powers the electric platforms. Luchador Seuss weighs down the platforms. Cool Zeus uses the sunglasses to break down the stone and melts ice with his laser vision. And Old West Zeus uses the bucket of water to put out fires. It's a very strategic puzzle game and reminded me a lot of the puzzle platformers I used to play as a kid, specifically the New Adventures of Mary Kay and Ashley that was on the Game Boy Color. It's not my favorite type of gameplay, but it's very solid and challenging, especially for kids, and requires a lot of out-of-the-box planning to complete the levels. I also believe this was one of the last games released on the official website, as the last 2 games available to talk about were app-based. Waddle's Food Fever is an app-based game released in 2015 that was available on the Watch Disney XD app that doesn't exist anymore. Neither does the channel for most of the world at this point.
It's still holding on in America for some reason, but I was never the demographic for the channel as it launched when I was in college, and the aim has always been for tween boys, and I've never been that and never will.
The gameplay is very simple. You have 3 tries to launch Waddles as far as possible and collect all the food and candy for points to try to get a high score. It's a bit of a mindless game, although fun and relaxing to play for a little while. It's interesting to notice that most of the Mabel and Waddles focus games, not that there were many created, all focused around food. There's one more game released in 2016 that was also featured through the now defunct Walt Disney XD app, Take Back the Falls. Similar to Rumble's Revenge and Pine's Quest, the mini intro of this theme song is one of the greatest variations of music I've heard. Especially because this is the Weird Mageddon version of the theme song, and it just scratches all the right places. It's a game-isode that features clips directly from the Weird Mageddon arc from the show. When it comes to the gameplay, it's a strictly fighting RPG game where you have to attack all the various monsters throughout the levels until you reach Bill Cipher, who's the big boss battle of the game. It's a simple concept like the others, but another one that I seriously enjoyed playing.
And that's all the Flash games for Gravity Falls that were available. Like I mentioned before, I know it's not everything, plus there was a lot of co-op games that featured the characters, but weren't specifically in the Gravity Falls universe. Like I also mentioned before, because they were aiming towards a tween boy demographic, the games were a lot more serious compared to other Flash games I've taken a look at. These have definitely been some of my favorites that I found, even though I've loved being able to go back and looking at all the Flash games from all the various franchises in total. And I love that there's still people working on preserving them. So these are all available to play through Flashpoint. Again, not sponsored, but it is one way to keep internet preservation alive. It's crazy to think about that these games are only 10 years old, but yet we're on the verge of lost media if not for these efforts. I adore Gravity Falls, and I'm really happy that Disney picked up Gravity Falls back in the day because it is one of the greatest pieces of media that they worked with and produced. I adore Alex Hirsch. He is phenomenal. He is a genius. And again, I'm a full-on adult and have been an adult since the show was created, but there's so much to enjoy. There's still a lot more content to talk about with Gravity Falls in the future, like I mentioned before, but just think of this as a nice taste into the world. And a word of wisdom before we end: never ever make a deal with Bill Cipher. Until then, as always, I hope you have a magical day, and I will see you real soon.